let's see. Someone needs to make this lovely motion that we can start the meeting electronically. Who wants to do that?
I will. So I move that the items on this meeting agenda constitute essential business of this committee. Meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans considering the COVID-19 outbreak, and any rule conflicting with the governor's executive order permitting electronic meetings be suspended.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Thank you. Is that Elena?
Yeah.
Yes. Since Abigail's not here, Susie, do you want to do the roll call vote? Everybody's here, so if you just go down the list, basically it's Laura, Elena, Alex, April, and me. Can't hear you, Susie.
Sorry about that.
There
Okay.
you go.
So voting on the e-meeting and present, Elena,
Present and yes.
Alex,
Present and yes.
April,
Present and yes.
Laura,
Present and yes.
Paula.
Present and yes. And also, would any of you, for the record, please state any potential conflicts of interest you may have with the Homelessness Planning Council?
I, April Calvin, work for a COC and ESG funded organization.
Awesome. I think you're it, April. Thanks. Oh, no, wait. My wife works for an ESG funded organization. There you go, Paula. Okay. I think that's it. And Laura's with us. And Laura, you are first up on the agenda. So I said this to Susie. I have this lovely muffins that my wife made. So I'm going to turn my camera off while I eat these muffins. But I'll be listening, Laura. So I'll have my mic on. Well, not while I'm chewing.
Should be able to, sounds fair.
Okay.
Should be able to keep this short and sweet. We've got two big items that we're working on this month. One is the Resource Development Committee. We were able, by we, I mean Judy and I were able to meet with Liz Allen Fay, who has agreed to be our committee chair, to give her some context and background, share the items on the strategic plan with her. And we've got a kickoff of that group scheduled for the 24th of February. It will be kind of an orientation, and then from there they will, start meeting fairly regularly. We talked timeline to, get that group up and running and get some major deliverables out the door. We are shooting for sometime in the fall, like September-ish was a month floated, but I'm sure that that group will give us more specific information once they've been able to get themselves onboarded and start meeting. But I'm really excited to have that on the calendar and get that moving so we can focus on some other items on our checklist. Any questions about the Resource Development Committee? Yeah.
Yeah, Laura, could you just remind me of everyone who's on the committee?
Yeah, let me pull it up for you. So we've got Liz Allen Fay, who is our chair. We've got Elisa Friedman, who works with Vanderbilt and Meharry, and was the contact that Elena put us in connection with. Mark Dunkerley from the Oasis Center. Tyler Matthews, who is a contact from the Fifth Third Bank, and then a young man by the name of Andy Zhu. He is connected in with the commercial real estate community here in Nashville, and very interested in this area. So small group, I think it was like 5 total. And Paula, I'll send you the list after this. I can send it to everybody so you guys have it on record.
I just forgotten who it was. Thank you.
Yeah. And then we talked to Liz about the number of people, and the consensus with the small group in conversation was, let's start small. They've got a lot to do, so we'll start small, and then if for some reason that committee feels like there's a gap in representation or knowledge, they will identify that and bring other members on. And then Alex, just a heads up, we did talk to Liz about, I think, the valid comment and question that you asked in our last meeting about having lived experience represented on the committee. And she's taken that into note. She wanted to think on it a little more to make sure that we had the right representation and we had a meaningful way to have that individual or those individuals participate in that committee. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to share them. If not, more make that note and are going to, continue to figure out how to have that lived experience represented in a way that's meaningful. Judy, you have your hand up. Did you have something to say?
Yes, just on that real quickly. We do have a consumer advisory board that we're going to ask for input and how to have input on that as well, and just utilize them, wisely on that front.
Yes, thank you, Judy. All right, any other questions about the Resource Development Committee? Sounds like no. So the other big meeting that we have going on in February is the committee chair meeting on Friday the 19th. The objective of that meeting is to bring our committee chairs together and have kind of our annual conversation as we look at the work for 2021. So objective-wise, I had this all in a pretty agenda to share with you guys, and then something happened and I lost it. So for me, for not having a visual aid, but objective-wise, it'll be a refresh on our community and strategic plan accomplishments in 2020, getting together and having some agreement on the body of work in 2021, and then really using a lot of the time to discuss collaboration wins and opportunities and how we can work successfully this year. So it really is that annual meeting for the chairs to come together and see how all of those different committees are working to achieve a shared goal, and just either think through or talk through how they can collaborate to best achieve their goals and shared goals as a community in the year to come. So right now we've got a 90-minute agenda to go through those items specifically, and I believe everybody on this committee has been invited. Some of you are committee chairs and are invited in that capacity, but also as the executive committee, I think it's really important to have your support and sponsorship and engagement with those committee chairs, since we are kind of the leading body of the Planning Council. So that is that's the plan. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be really good. Anything else, Judy, that you'd like to add, or I will open it up for questions?
No, you got it covered.
Cool. Any questions from the group?
I have a question. Judy, you copied us on that survey. Did you want the executive committee to take that survey as well?
No, I mentioned it in the email. I just wanted you to know what's going on, and also if you could be part of that chair meeting, that will be helpful, as kind of helping guide the Homelessness Planning Council on what's happening at the chair level. So if you could make the 19th available, that's why I wanted to do upfront and include you on all of that.
Cool. Well, those were the two main items that I wanted to bring to this group today that we are working on. Other than that, I don't think I have any other updates, unless anybody has got something that they were expecting to hear about today.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, awesome.
All right then. Well, next is our own Heather Dillashaw, because we call you our own now, because we feel like you're part of this community. So what's going on?
I feel like that too.
Good.
Especially after the last couple weeks, right, Judy?
You want to tell us about that, Heather?
I am. So we wanted to, and I know all of you are aware, there's been some inappropriate attention to one of the places where we have moved folks into permanent housing. Outside of the media and social media, there's been a lot of other very challenging conversation, both with some law enforcement and with one of the council members. And so Judy and I have been doing our best to manage some of that. You got the notice from Judy that there's a called meeting tonight, a couple of the council committees. For that presentation tonight, we're gonna, Judy and I are gonna tag team and really focus on the solutions and the overall strategy and all the good work that y'all are doing. I'm certain that we'll get questions, but we wanted to take some time with y'all and then with the Homeless Planning Council next week too, just to do some level setting around what the right to privacy means in housing. Almost all of the questions that the council member has asked and most of what she has posted is illegal to disclose about anybody. The Fair Housing Act and the right to privacy is literally that for everybody. The only exception to that with the folks that we are moving in is their enrollment into programs in HMIS. And as you know, HMIS is a protected database, and the only folks that have access to that information are the folks who enter that data, whom the individuals have consented to share that information, meaning I don't have access to that information. Judy doesn't have access to that information. April doesn't have access to that information as a program director. MDHA does not, HUD does not. All of the data that gets reported is reported in aggregate to protect individuals' rights to privacy. And it's illegal for any of us to have any access to that information, meaning that we don't know if folks are receiving addiction services or mental health services or any of those things. And so we wanted to just have a minute to talk through that, to answer questions if you have them. All of those questions, I think, are going to keep coming. And it's a good reminder to us that, we don't have to answer them, right? That it's easy just to answer because we're used to answering questions, right? And we know that strong supportive services do include addiction services, and they include mental health services, and they include a number of things, right? And so when we talk about strong rehousing programs, we talk about the variety of services. What we can't say is the specific services that are being offered at a location or to an individual, because then we're disclosing information that we don't have a right to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, do the rest of you need this put into a little bit more context in terms of what has happened, or has you know what's been happening?
I do.
You do, Alex. Elena, April, do you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, I can say more. I mean, I know April knows more than she wants to. So what happened is a law enforcement officer who is in the South Precinct, I think, is called a council member and said, hey, there's a bunch of homeless people that have moved into a motel, and it's a public safety concern, and you need to be worried about it, basically, is what happened. He never should have done that, one.
But let's be clear, though, Heather, that the council person that he called is in the neighboring council district, not the council
That's correct.
district hotel is located. Now, it is adjacent, and it is right there on the border, but it is
Yes.
not her district. And the council
It is
member
not
is
her
Courtney
district.
Johnson.
Right. And Sandra Sepulveda, whose district it is, as who all of you know, is supportive. And anyway, so there were several missteps there, right? Law enforcement should not have made that call. She should not have posted a bunch of things. Courtney Johnson should not have posted a bunch of things on social media that many of which were inaccurate, and all of it inflammatory. And inappropriate, but that happened. And because she did that, the media picked it up, and there was a news story. What day was that? Wednesday or Thursday? I can't remember what day this news story was, but Channel 5 did a story.
Thursday, 10 o'clock.
Thursday.
I think the news
Did a
story was
story.
that bad, actually. I thought the news story was just kind of informative. It wasn't. There didn't seem to be any inflammatory stuff in the news.
Well, I mean, they call it a
At least
homeless
not that I
motel,
saw.
which is
Call it a
not,
homeless motel.
which is, one, folks aren't homeless anymore. They're living with leases in those units, and they just, they compromise the safety of the folks there, right? I mean, folks are already get preyed upon, and now they just said, hey, look at all these people that used to be homeless living in this one place, right? I mean,
Yeah, they did name the place, so
they did, and showed lots of pictures. So all of that is unfortunate, and inappropriate. It happened. So we wanted to make sure that leadership and the Homeless Planning Council and everybody, and we did this with the providers last week too, just to remind them that they don't have to answer people's questions, and they shouldn't answer people's questions. That the case managers are doing their jobs and they know a lot, but it's not their job ever to tell other people that what's happening, right? So that's where we are. It'll be interesting to see how the meeting goes tonight, but we wanted y'all to be as aware as you can be about what's happening, because it has become so public. We've housed, now I'm not going to remember the exact numbers, Judy, even though I looked at them last night. We've housed almost 300 people, and so more than half of the folks we've housed are not at that site, right? We've housed folks all over the city, and we'll continue to do that. There are more concentrated there because the opportunity was there, right? So it's unfortunate the scrutiny of the folks that are there who are trying to stabilize after most of them having come from the streets, that this additional scrutiny is there and additional attention on them.
So I want to say that Heather's being very polite around describing the whole thing. One of the things that happened as well is that Judy reached out to Councilmember Johnson and wanted to have a discussion about what was going on and what her concerns were. Councilmember Johnson refused to speak to Judy on the phone. She wanted Judy to put everything in writing. And we know that when you do things like that, it's because you're looking for, this is what you said, I have proof kind of thing. And it is unfortunate that she started the interaction that way. And then she posted all of the questions that she had asked Judy and all of Judy's responses on social media. And then she posted a lot of follow-up questions that were completely inappropriate about, again, the details that Heather was talking about. And then there was a meeting with Councilmember Johnson and people from his office and Judy. And I don't think she's posted anything since that meeting that I'm aware of. But that just happened, on Thursday?
It was Wednesday, I think.
I don't
I was there too.
posted anything else since then. But one of the things that she wants is, 24/7, security. She wants off-duty Metro police officers hired to provide security there, and it is unrealistic and unaffordable. And and so she's going to continue, I think, to push this. She has riled folks up that are in her district by posting it on social media, and again, it's unfortunate because instead of trying to figure out, how to work with us, she immediately took to the, I'm going to, inflame people's, fears. Yeah, I hate that. In order to,
She did.
Yeah.
I don't think she's gonna. We'll see what she does. I was very. Judy can say more, but I was very direct with her when we met with her that she had to stop saying what she was because it was illegal for her to do it, and that she was violating federal law by doing it. She she followed up and wanted all the citations in the Federal Register. And so, I mean, I sent her all that. I mean, she has like all the, including the examples of the contracts from MDHA that spell out to the providers that they can't do that either. Right. So she's got all that information. I don't know, Judy, you want to say more about that?
Yes, also the questions, I just want to make sure when I prepared those written questions, I included Heather and the mayor's office just to make sure that our responses are following law. The questions are inappropriate and should never have come up, so they shouldn't have been answered. Let's just put it that way, but the answers themselves are okay. It's just not that we don't even want to have the attention. It's just not. We need to realize that motels have been used across the nation and in Nashville are being used right now on a monthly basis, and before and for decades. This is now permanent housing where everybody has a 1-year lease. That may be the main difference, but not that there is a motel being used for housing. That is not. That's all over the place. It has been going on for a long time. So I just want to add those two things.
Yeah. And she did come back with a lot more follow-up questions, and I think she posted those too. We can't answer any of those questions, and we made that very clear multiple times because we can't answer them. I mean, she wanted to be given a list of all the motels that were being used, and we said no, we can't do that either. I mean, so she's digging as hard as she can dig. And
her slant was completely why are you putting these people here and not in other places, and why aren't you putting them in Belmead and not here, and all sorts of things in that regard that clearly it was we don't want them in my backyard. It is that exactly what it is, and
yes, it is.
I'm not sure where it's going to go from here.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how it goes tonight, but I mean, we are very focused on the solutions that are working. In our conversation tonight, we're going to talk about the long-term sustainability pieces that are already in motion with additional set-aside vouchers from MDHA and all these really good pieces that are happening. The RFP for additional PSH units is going to be posted this week. I mean, there's all kinds of really great stuff happening, and we're going to try and focus on that tonight, and we'll see where it goes.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Alex.
Because I've been biting my tongue since finding out about this whole thing. When do we not have representation with the South Precinct, like somebody that we talk to?
Judy, we answer that.
I did not. We have representation of what? Sorry.
Oh, I mean, just an officer or somebody within the the police department, the South Precinct.
I have been talking. So I had a meeting prior to all of this with actually the police chief, who's very supportive of solutions, housing people, and he wants to change the philosophy and what he can do. Prior to the move-ins, when it became clear that there is going to be in this district a motel, I did reach out to Sandra Sepulveda. She did never ask for detailed information or who's coming in or who is all of that. It was just a brief conversation, heads up. There's going to be a motel participating in the rapid rehousing in your district. And then with that, we also have had meetings with the South Precinct commander. And we've had a meeting, and April was there as well with the motel owner and the South Precinct to help figure out, and increase some of the security. And just that's what we're trying to work through. Frankly, unfortunately, that's where the South Precinct just went to the districting and other council members that should have never happened. They should have continued working with us, in my opinion. And
So
that's
they got
kind of
cold
something that we're working on.
So basically, they said, yeah, we're willing to work with you. Then all of a sudden, just dropped off, basically.
No, I think, Alex, it's a little bit more nefarious than that, to be perfectly honest. I think that this particular person at the South Precinct decided he didn't like it in his area, and there were too many calls to this one location, and he was just not happy with that. And so instead of trying to figure out why and what they could do to be supportive, he decided just to try to shut it down by going to a council member that he knew was going to be sympathetic. So I
I think that's right,
deliberate and calculated move on that precinct commander's part.
I think that's right. Unfortunately, I think the other kind of pieces that are in motion is not all of the commanders are behave that way, right? And Judy does have some good relationships with some other officers in that precinct. I don't remember if y'all call him community liaison but whoever the community officer is there, he's not behaving that way, so that's good. And April and Ethan are making connections with the officers they work with regularly to try and make some inroads there with this, just to try and have some other conversation happening other than the way that the South commander is.
Unfortunately for us, what happens is that he's the commander. This is not just an officer. He's the commander.
I know. I'm aware.
So, well, I know you're aware. I'm just reiterating that the problem is not that there's a rogue officer out there. The problem is that there's a rogue commander, and that presents lots of problems because the other officers who might want to be helpful have to do what he leads them to do. So,
Yep.
Anyway, I think there's a lot. I'm looking forward to hearing what happens this evening and what.
So, can there be a way where he can bring that commander can be brought into the fold so they can specifically understand why this is important, like why we need this hotel to be up and running for our friends that's there? Because I already found out there's a few of my old friends that I used to run with that was on the street when I was on the street are now placed there. And I personally don't like the fact that that's being targeted. So if y'all need me to use my voice to get the point across, I have no problem doing that.
Thank you, Alex. And don't think we won't use that if we feel like it is in our best interest to do so. So hang tight. Judy and Heather have been working diligently. Susie, April, I know you guys are on top of this and doing the best you can, and we will weather the storm. I mean, there's our concern is now really for the safety of the residents, and now that the attention has been brought to them, what does that mean? And so there are some concerns that we all have to figure out how to work through. But I mean, we're not going anywhere. They've got leases and there's protections for them there. It's not like they're going to shut this down, but it does raise some concerns around safety for everyone. So
it does. I mean, we will get through this moment. That's what I've been saying, and Judy and I've been talking about. We'll get through this moment, but it's a hard one, and it is causing some other things that we are having to do that we shouldn't have to do, but we're doing them. The security piece is being worked on. April and the Salvation Army are providing some initial weekend overnight security through the firm that they work with. I think, was it Friday and Saturday nights, April, for the month of February? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, so 3 nights for the month of February. Hoping that Shabana will see the importance of this. I've been sending case managers there all times of the night just to see what the traffic is like. And what we've realized is, which I don't live on that side of town, so I don't know much about it, but it's a high traffic area for sex workers. And before we moved in, our participants may be allowing them in as guests, but our participants are not the ones that's out causing the problem. So every time a case manager goes by, it's none of the recent folks that any of the agencies have housed that's outside. It's always like that's their neighborhood. What I feel is that there was some displaced sex workers, like that was their home or that was their work area, right? So, there's a lot of that activity. And when you think about our participants being vulnerable or taken advantage of, that's huge. So I'm pretty sure that it goes on 7 days a week. The Salvation Army can really only afford 3 days, and we're trying to target the high traffic areas or times so that hopefully, in doing the math, I think what happened with Shabana was the commander that we were talking about, kind of scared her in saying that you need 24 hours service, 2 officers, and they must be off-duty guards, and it's $60 an hour. So she did the math. It was like $430,000 that she was going to have to spend, and she's like, I'm not budgeted for that. So with this one officer, we pay maybe $20 to $25 an hour, and just having a car park there would probably offset some of that. Also offered Shabana, if like any of the officers wanted to rent a unit there, what was the reduced rate? Initially, she wanted them to pay almost $1,000 a month, but now she sees the importance of that. She's willing to give it to someone for free. Any off-duty officer who wants to rent a place for free. So those are some of the things that we're going to talk to the commander about. We have a really great connection with Commander Howie here in South Precinct or Central Precinct, and want to take him along so that he can explain to the commander there how beneficial it is to offer these services and not, it seems like he was wanting to use this as a profit for the South Precinct as far as the security, and he keeps pushing that. So I think that she'll see this as a much cheaper rate, much more affordable, and hopefully she can sustain it for, the length of the time that our people are there, or until the need, goes down.
Well,
and the case managers from the Contributor and Kathy and Oasis, Austin, from their folks are out there, right? So our folks are being taken care of. It's just, the predatory nature of, unfortunately, folks that know that these are, many of the folks there could be easily taken advantage of is just hard. And they can only do so much, right? So hopefully the security presence will offset that.
The biggest issue for me is how this particular commander seems to be bullying his way into whatever it is that he thinks is the right thing to do. And that's a significant issue for me. I understand people's feelings. I do. Whether I think their feelings are right or wrong it's not my call. That's their feelings. I get it. But having a person of power push a particular agenda is disturbing. And this is where I think we need to all be aware of and decide how to push back if we need to in certain ways and appropriately. Maybe not as the planning council, but as individual organizations pushing back maybe the way to go. So we will see what happens tonight, and then we'll kind of continue to monitor and do what we need to do moving forward.
Hey, Paula?
Yeah.
I don't know whether this would be valuable or not, but and it's been a long time since they did it, but talking with Rusty at Urban Housing Solutions, I know he's semi-retired, but back at, 30 years ago,
Really? I didn't know that.
he had Mercury Courts, 172 folks. Again, the concentration is really something that's worrisome. We were taking advantage of those rooms being available, but and they had the same thing. Sex workers up and down Murfreesboro Road. Now, very different scenario. It wasn't a private owner; it was a nonprofit, but they had to put that big fence around it. So, what would he suggest if it's a private owner and she wants her fears to be calmed a little bit too? I don't know whether it would be worth talking to him about what that scenario was back in the day, and with the private landlord, what he might propose. But
yeah, and I think part of it too is if Councilmember Johnson is so adamantly whatever it feels like we need to you know, provide some security, then Councilmember Johnson needs to find some money in Metro's budget to pay for it. So there, Sandra Sepulveda just joined us. Thank you, Councilmember. We were just talking about your area.
Oh, good. I joined just in time. Then I apologize.
No, no, it's fine. Please, thanks for hopping on this morning. Do you have anything you want to give us and update us on? We kind of just went through the whole scenario of what has happened and where we are, and preparing for the meeting this evening. Is there anything that we can do for you in preparing for your meeting this evening?
Well, I sent an email to my constituents letting them know that we have the meeting tonight. And I told them to go ahead and send me questions that they might have, with the understanding that some of this falls under federal privacy rights, so that some of their questions might not be able to get answered. But I think the main concern was just making sure that we have enough resources, and so I think that was the main concern. So if that could be, I know that not everything could be spoken about, but I think we all want to make this work, and so I would just love to be able to go back to them and say, look, these are the steps that are being taken, as much as I could tell them.
Well, thank you. And again, if there's anything specific we can do to help you, you just name it and we are there for you. We definitely appreciate your support of this project. It's critical, I think. And I wish that it wasn't becoming a headache for you, but I do appreciate your support. And again, if there's anything that we can do, information we can give you. I know Judy has been right there giving you what you need. But if there's anything else that we can do for you, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Heather, did you have anything else for us?
I think I just wanted to reiterate that we are, we're working on the security piece, and I'm hopeful, like April is that we can help Siobhan, the property owner, understand that, she doesn't need the police department to be there. That there's a way to do this that is much more reasonable, and that the precinct commander is being a bully to her, and has inflamed her concern and all those pieces, and everything that April said is, it's true. The reality is we do silo poverty, and we house folks who are homeless into poverty because that's the way our rental markets work. And it's not ideal, to your point, Susie. It isn't. It's more ideal than them continuing to live outside, but it's not ideal, and we know that. And we're not solving poverty right now. We're trying to solve homelessness as a first step toward that for folks, right? So it's hard. All of those pieces don't change the fact that lower income areas where we can afford to house folks are harder, right? There are more folks that are going to prey on everybody. All those pieces are true, right, in lower income areas, unfortunately. And we aren't solving for that, right? That's not what this is. That's a much bigger community piece that I know a lot of other people are working on, a lot of other systems are working on, right? But it takes time. So hopefully through this, we can help this property owner understand that, there are ways to do this in ways that are safe and that people will be okay. And, I think we'll get there. I think that I appreciate April and Ethan helping start that process on the weekends to help her see the benefit of that particular model. She doesn't need security there during the day. The case managers are there during the day. That's not. If you look at the calls that the commander keeps talking about, they're happening late, right? They're not happening. They're not even happening at 5 o'clock, right? They're happening, after dark, way into the early morning out, So anyway, so I think, there are ways that this can happen, and hopefully through this, we can help the property owner feel better about it. And folks there will move through this, and folks there can go back to trying to get stable in housing.
All right. I think one of my concerns is I don't want the property owner to feel harassed by the police department, and that I think is a valid concern that we need to make sure that we are giving her the support that she needs. And April, it sounds like you've done a great job with that. Yeah. But whatever we need to do to support her is, I think, imperative because if a precinct commander is telling her she has to have X, Y, and Z, I mean, when the police tell you you have to do something, you think you have to do it, and so not doing it then puts you in a place where, if the commander's really being a bully, he can make her life difficult, and that's not what we want at all. And so I think it's something that we need to be very aware of, and make sure that we have the liaison with the upper echelons of the police department that we need in order to make sure that that doesn't happen. So, all right. Anything else, Heather?
No, I don't think so. I hope you all will listen in tonight, so you kind of hear the messaging, if you can, to just kind of and give Judy and I both feedback about how we continue to, move this forward as we again move into these longer term sustainability pieces as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be on the call tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again, and again, Councilmember Sepulveda, we appreciate you very much. All right, moving on to the next agenda item is the Planning Council agenda. You guys got a copy of that? It looks good to me. Do we know who's going to do the story of progress?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We really want to make sure that we're sticking to a personal story. And just real quickly, I do have those. I can, but right now, most of the ones we are pulling are from the fairgrounds because that's where my outreach workers are.
Okay.
So I will have one. But if anybody has a suggestion, and it's really their personal story.
Do you want to contact Kathy Jennings and see if anybody from the contributor has something they can share?
Yes, I can do that. Yes.
All right, do that and see if she can. All right. And do me, yeah, okay, that's fine. Anything else jump out at anyone? Otherwise, it's pretty standard fare. All right. So it is 9:15. Do we have other business that we need to discuss today?
Hey, Paula, there might be, we might want to work on some speaking points if the homeless count that was basically, we got an exception from HUD to cancel the unsheltered part of that. If there are any questions from the Planning Council about, okay, so since we didn't count the people who are outside, then what are those numbers going to show for Nashville and that kind of thing? And I might try and get a little bit of that from Judy's side and also from the national perspective, because there are a number of cities that ask for that same exception. And it may just be that we don't know as much as we have in the past this year.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense.
I would like to add something there. So our recommendation from MHID is that actually we really, really focus on getting people into HMAS and coordinated entry, especially in encampments, and that needs to be an ongoing effort anyway, so we have real-time data. I'm happy to say that a lot of nonprofits that are now really seeing what the benefit is. When a couple of years ago, when we did not have HMS where it is right now, they didn't see the benefit of it. And now that is changing and has changed. We just need to discuss how it's works and how it's done, how it works and how it's done practically, to make sure there is unduplication and all of that. But it really will benefit people because as we've seen, when we have opportunities like dollars coming through that we didn't expect, if people are already in the system, they're already, then we don't have to do. That's kind of the goal. When we have opportunities, when housing comes through, that we really have people be able to take advantage of that and follow those federal guidelines, which EST has to go through coordinated entry. So.
All right. Thank you so much, Judy. Do you have anything else today? Oh, we finished 15 minutes early. That's unprecedented. All right, then. Well, I want to say that I really appreciate Judy and Heather and Susie for the work that you guys do and being a buffer to all of us sometimes. around some of these issues. And April, you guys are doing a great job. I know you are, along with a lot of the other nonprofits who are working specifically on ESG funding, getting people into housing. So I appreciate that very much. I want to make sure you guys know that. Is there anything else that we need to talk about today before we adjourn?
One more, number one, I'm not going to take credit for that. The other folks you named are definitely deserving of the credit. I'd like to do what a few of the other committees have chosen to do in terms of the anti-racism pledge, and see if we can add the paragraph that data committee and at least one other committee have decided to add to the agenda, so that we kind of keep it front and center for not just the other committees, but the executive committee as well.
That's fine. We put it on the bottom of the planning council agenda. I forgot to mention that. So
Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. That should be a standard fare across every agenda that we do. Just a reminder of all of that. That makes perfect sense to me. Okay, then.
Can I just say one quick thing?
Sure.
Yeah, I just, I'm getting caught up in the context, so thank you for sharing that. And but if you guys need any support, I don't know what it would look like from another national organization. I can certainly talk to Bobby about how to support what's going on in that district. So just wanted to put that out there for added support if needed.
Thank you, Lena. Okay. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by April, second by Alex. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah, have a good rest of the day.